I'd like to introduce Mr. Donald Trump, who will take your questions for about 10 minutes or so before we go over into the rally.
Good evening. How are you? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I think the Republican Party is going to do really well. You have a you have another party that's got some big problems. I just saw today coming over the email situation for Hillary Clinton is a big, big problem. If they judge it fairly, she's got a very big problem. Yes, sir. No, not at all. Not at all. I've been proven right. I mean, I've been absolutely proven right. Yes. I have what? I don't think so at all. I mean, I look at the polls. I can only go by the polls. A new poll came out, 32%. That's the highest for anybody yet. So I can only go by the polls. The people that we're dealing with and whatever's happened, it is what it is. You just look at the results. I guess Iowa just came out a little while ago, and leading in Iowa, leading in New Hampshire, leading in North Carolina, leading in South Carolina, leading in Nevada, leading everywhere. So that's all I can go by. Excuse me? Oh, that's the best question. China. I think you have to do something to rein in China. They devalued their currency today. They're making it absolutely impossible for the United States to compete, and nobody does anything. China has no respect for President Obama whatsoever. Well, you have to take strong action. How can we compete? They continuously cut their currency. They devalue their currency, and I've been saying this for years. They've been doing it for years. This isn't just starting. This was the largest devaluation they've had in 2 decades. They're making it impossible for our businesses, our companies to compete. They think we're run by a bunch of idiots, and what's going on with China is unbelievable. The largest devaluation in 2 decades. It's honestly, great question. It's a disgrace. Major, fantastic. I watched you with President Obama 2 weeks ago. He was not thrilled. I'm sure I'll be more thrilled. Very fair question. There are 2 ways of looking at it. You could have let it go and rebuilt itself through the free enterprise system. You could have let it go bankrupt, frankly, and rebuilt itself, and a lot of people think that's the way it should have happened. Or you could have done it the way it went. I could have done it either way. Either way would have been acceptable. I think you would have ended up ultimately in the same place. Yes, ma'am. Race relations are at an all-time high or all-time low? Well, that's certainly, yeah. Jobs, spirit. There's no spirit. Well, certainly I would. But in terms of what would you do to address the, and really they are at, I don't know about all time, but certainly they're doing very poorly. You look at what's going on in every place. I mean, every place. And we have powder kegs all over the country waiting to explode. You need spirit, esprit de corps, cheerleading, and you need jobs. We have to take our jobs back from China. We have to take them back from all these other countries that have taken our job. That's why when the question was asked about China, it's just terrible. It's just terrible what's happening. More jobs are going to go. Yes, ma'am. Well, I think so. I think we're going to do very well with a lot of votes. We're going to do very well with the Hispanic vote. We're going to do great with the women vote. If you look at in Nevada, they did the poll, and I'm leading in the Hispanic vote because I create jobs, and I will be creating tremendous numbers of jobs. So I think we're going to do great. And then the women's health issues, I'm for that. I watched Jeb Bush give the worst answer the other day. I think that is going to be his 47%. Romney possibly lost the election. There are a lot of reasons, frankly, that he lost. But one of the big reasons was his 47%. That was a disaster. I think that Jeb's answer the other day on women's health issues is a disaster for him. And I don't think, now he then went and he said he misspoke. How do you misspeak about that? I will be great on women's health issues. I cherish women. And I will be great on women's health issues, believe me. Oh, hello, David.
You have said right now you're going to be great on women, you're going to be great on China, you're going to be great on ISIS, you're going to be great on jobs.
Hopefully everything.
Fine. We haven't heard a lot of specifics. And I talked to people outside the venue today, and they say, where's the meat on the bone? When are you going to tell us what you'll replace Obamacare with, how you will fix China, how you will bring jobs?
Okay. Well, first of all, and ISIS, you didn't bring up ISIS. What happened? Huh?
Where's the plan?
I think you're going to see lots of plans, and you're going to see also, and you have to understand, when you're coming up with a plan in business, you have to be flexible. There's got to be flexibility. And I recently bought something, not so recently, but Doral in Miami. Everybody wanted it. If I would have sat down and said, here's a 12-point plan in order to get Doral, I didn't do that. I went in and punched and beat the hell out of people, and I ended up getting it. Everybody wanted it. All of the smart money wanted it. The OPO, the old post office on Pennsylvania Avenue, everybody wanted it. I got it. In the Obama administration, I got it, which is pretty shocking, considering that Pritzker wanted it, which is Hyatt, and lots of other people. I got it. And I got it because I know how to get things. I know how to get things done. You can't sit down and say, well, I'm going to come up with a 19-point plan to get the old post office and create it into a great hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. The most sought-after property, I think, in the history of the General Services Administration. Trump got it. I'm not an Obama person. You probably heard that. You have to be able to have flexibility. You have to be able to do certain things.
Now you're asking people to trust you. If they send me
Well, I think there has to be a trust. Yeah, there actually does have to be a trust. If you don't trust, you're not going to do very well. Major, go ahead. Jeb Bush doesn't have the energy to be great on jobs. Jeb Bush will not be able to negotiate against China. Jeb Bush will not be able to negotiate against Mexico. Jeb Bush with Mexico said people come in, they come in, it's an act of love, okay? It's not an act of love. We need a wall. We need a wall. You see what's happening with illegal immigration. And in all fairness, if it weren't for me, they wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration. You see Kate in San Francisco. You see what happened yesterday in California, which was horrible. The whole situation with Jeb Bush, with his act of love, it's not working. And I took a lot of heat that first week, and then people realized I was right, and they apologized to me. We're going to be announcing over the next 2 weeks numbers and specifics, knowing that what I just said is right. You really have to be flexible on jobs and everything else. But we'll be, and I'm going to be speaking about it later, we're going to be taking jobs outside. We're going to be taking them away from China, away from all of these countries that are stealing from us. I mean, they're stealing our base, our money, our manufacturing. We're going to be bringing them back into the United States. And I'm going to be talking about this. Ford, as an example, is building a $2.5 billion automobile plant in Mexico. How does that help us? I went to the Wharton School of Finance. How does it help us? They're spending $2.5 billion to build a car plant in Mexico. Cars and trucks and parts are going to go all over the place, but they're coming into the United States, no tax. How does it help us? Except they'll be closing plants in Michigan and lots of other places. So we're going to be talking about, we're going to be bringing back jobs to the United States. Yes, sir. Okay, let me tell you something. 10 years ago, everybody wanted the wall. The Democrats, the Republicans, they couldn't get it. You know one of the reasons they couldn't get it? Environmental impact statements. Did you know that? There were toads. It's the most incredible thing. We're going to get the wall built, and it's going to be built right. And Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Mexico is making a fortune off the United States. Mexico is going to pay for the wall. And they're going to be happy about it. You know what? They're going to be happy about it. because the cost of the wall is peanuts compared to the kind of money they're making. Mexico is becoming the new China. I have a great love for Mexico. I have love for the Mexican people. I have thousands of Mexico people. Over the years, Mexicans have worked for me, and they are now thousands. They're fantastic people, great spirit. But their politicians and their leaders are much smarter and sharper and more cunning. And I say the word cunning. They're more cunning than our leaders. They will pay for the wall. They'll be happy about it. They will continue to do well, but not as well as they're doing right now. They're taking too many of our jobs. Third party. Well, that could happen. I mean, that could happen. That's their choice. But, when you talk in the debate, it came out on one of the networks today. So there should have been 2 million people watching. You agree? About 2 million. That's been sort of standard, 2 million people. They had 24 million people. And the 24, I think, is going to go to 28 or 29 and maybe even 30 when the final numbers come in. Who do you think they're watching? Jeb Bush? Huh? I don't think so. Okay. I hope not. I mean, I want to run as a Republican. That's what I'm doing. I'm leading in every poll, the local and the national polls, leading and by substantial margins. I hope that I will be the Republican nominee because that's the best way to win. I'm going to keep the door open on the other if I'm not treated fairly, and the word is fairly. It doesn't mean well, it means fairly. If I'm not treated fairly, we'll see what happens. Fairly, it means fairly. I want to be treated fairly. I want the establishment. Look, I was part of the establishment. Let me explain. I was the establishment 2 months ago. I was like the fair-haired boy. I was a giver, a big giver. Once I decided to run, all of a sudden I'm sort of semi-anti-establishment. Now, leading in all the polls, they're treating me very well. I mean, I'm being treated very well. Reince Priebus has been terrific. His people have been terrific. They're dealing with my people. They're dealing with Corey. We have a great relationship. I want to run as a Republican. I don't want to run a third party or as an independent. I want to run as a Republican. As long as I'm treated fairly, that's going to be the case. And fairly is an instinct. It's an instinct. I know what fair is. You know what fair is. I know what it is. Yeah, I know what fair is. And I think that's happening. And by the way, win, lose, or draw, I'm not just saying I have to win. Now, I guarantee you this. If I win the Republican nomination, I guarantee you, all sitting there, I will not run a third-party candidate. Do you agree? Okay. One more question. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would never give up my microphone. I thought that was disgusting. That showed such weakness. The way he was taken away by two young women, the microphone, they just took the whole place over. And the audience, which liked him, I mean, they were him. They're saying, what's going on? How can this happen? That will never happen with me. I don't know if I'll do the fighting myself or if other people will. But that was a disgrace. The way I felt badly for him. But it showed that he's weak. You know what? He's getting the biggest crowds, and I'm getting the biggest crowds. We're the two getting the crowds. But believe me, that's not going to happen to Trump. Yes. I agree. Did you hear what he said? You could win it. You're way out in front. I agree. Yeah. You want to be what, vice president? Oh, now his question's no longer as good. He had great credibility until he said that. Now it's like, where did he come from? Okay, go ahead. One more. Go ahead. 100%. Mark it down. 100%. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We'll go make a speech, and then you go home. Have a good time. Okay? Thank you. Thank you all very much.